Very welcome, Hari Om, to everybody. Good morning and a very good welcome to all of you. Today is the fourth session of our Vidya Vritti series. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes.
Am I audible to everybody? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So it's indeed very beautifully the program is going on. I'm very, very happy to see our principals working hard and putting up presentations, sharing wonderful ideas. And I think somebody shared with me saying that the content is so appropriately being discussed by the teachers. Something very, very important that feedback I have got, because some of the workshops, the content is somewhere else, and then the teachers speakers speak about something else. But here, very, very appropriately to the point, people were speaking, and all are very, very valuable inputs we've been receiving. So welcome to the fourth day of the Vidya Vritti series. And today again, we have two very enthusiastic and inspiring speakers with us. So to begin the program, we have an inspiring principal from PU College, Kolar, Chokkahalli College, and he has been with this college for the last 18 years and is the principal of the college. And I was so very happy when he said that I want to give the prayer. So here is an enthusiasm at the best. I think Chinmaya Vidyalaya principals are at they are demonstrating enthusiasm like this. So over to Sri Manjunath ji. Last week itself he was to give the prayer. Something it could not be connected. So we have let's all close our eyes and let us have Manjunath ji presenting the prayer. Yes, Manjunath ji.
Hari Om. ರಾಮ ರಾಮ ಎಂಬರಡಕ್ಷರ ಪ್ರೇಮಾದಿ ಸಲಹಿತು ಸುಜನರನು ಪ್ರೇಮಾದಿ ಸಲಹಿತು ಸುಜನರನು ರಾಮ ರಾಮ ಎಂಬರಡಕ್ಷರ ಪ್ರೇಮಾದಿ ಸಲಹಿತು ಸುಜನರನು ಪ್ರೇಮಾದಿ ಸಲಹಿತು ಸುಜನರನು ಅಂಜಿಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಕಿರಿಸಾರಿದ ಕಪಿ ಕುಂಜರ ರವಿಸೂತ ಬಲ್ಲವನು ಅಂಜಿಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಕಿರಿಸಾರಿದ ಕಪಿ ಕುಂಜರ ರವಿಸೂತ ಬಲ್ಲವನು ಎಂಜಲ ಫಲಗಳ ಹರಿಗರ್ಪಿಸಿದ ಕಂಜಲೋಚನೆಯ ಕೇಳೇನು ಕಂಜಲೋಚನೆಯ ಕೇಳೇನು ರಾಮ ರಾಮ ಎಂಬರಡಕ್ಷರ ಪ್ರೇಮಾದಿ ಸಲಹಿತು ಸುಜನರನು ಪ್ರೇಮಾದಿ ಸಲಹಿತು ಸುಜನರನು ಹಾಲ ಹಲವನು ಪಾನವ ಮಾಡಿದ ಪಾಲಲೋಚನನೇ ಬಲ್ಲವನು ಹಾಲ ಹಲವನು ಪಾನವ ಮಾಡಿದ ಪಾಲಲೋಚನನೇ ಬಲ್ಲವನು ಆಲಾಪಿಸುತ್ತ ಶಿಲೆಯಾಗಿದ್ದ ಬಾಲೆಯ ಹಲ್ಯೆಯ ಕೇಳೇನು ಬಾಲೆಯ ಹಲ್ಯೆಯ ಕೇಳೇನು ರಾಮ ರಾಮ ಎಂಬರಡಕ್ಷರ ಪ್ರೇಮಾದಿ ಸಲಹಿತು ಸುಜನರನು ಪ್ರೇಮಾದಿ ಸಲಹಿತು ಸುಜನರನು ಕಾಲವನರಿತು ಸೇವೆಯ ಮಾಡಿದ ಲೋಲ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಣನೇ ಬಲ್ಲವನು ಕಾಲವನರಿತು ಸೇವೆಯ ಮಾಡಿದ ಲೋಲ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಣನೇ ಬಲ್ಲವನು ವ್ಯಾಳ ಶಯನ ಶ್ರೀ ವಿಜಯ ವಿಠಲನ ಲೀಲೆಯ ಶರಧಿಯ ಕೇಳೇನು ಲೀಲೆಯ ಶರಧಿಯ ಕೇಳೇನು ರಾಮ ರಾಮ ಎಂಬರಡಕ್ಷರ ಪ್ರೇಮಾದಿ ಸಲಹಿತು ಸುಜನರನು ಪ್ರೇಮಾದಿ ಸಲಹಿತು ಸುಜನರನು Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Thank you so much, Manjunath ji. That was really, really a nice prayer to set the tone on. So we have gathered here to listen to three speakers. One of the most important aspect today is along with so many other skills, we need to gear up for the 21st century skills. So we had looked at the aspects of 21st century skills. Somebody spoke about critical thinking skills. Vijay Lakshmi ma'am from Chennai school spoke about the critical thinking skills. And then we had the creativity. We had somebody talking about nurturing creativity was spoken by our Meena Vilku ma'am from Jamshedpur school. And we talked about collaborating. Collaborating is the key to success. That was also last time. And the fourth in the 21st century skill, these 4 C's. They say 4 C's: critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, and the fourth one is communication. Communication is the order of the day today. If without communication, children cannot express. That's become one of the most important skill, where how they communicate. And so I request Meena Amma to introduce our principal from Banashankari, Karnataka, to go forward, take it forward.
Hari Amma, thank you so much. So here we have Yamuna Surya Prakash ji, who is the principal of Banashankari, CV Banashankari in Bangalore. And she has 32 years of experience in the field of education. And who better than her to speak about communication, because she has worked in many different schools. And I must say she has also worked in different CVs, CV Begumpet, Chinmay Vidyalaya Begumpet. She's also worked in Chinmay Vidyalaya Ananagar. And she's the founder principal of Chinmay Vidyalaya Banashankari. So thank you for volunteering, and welcome Yamuna Prakash ji to present tips to enhance communication skills.
Yamuna Amma, you need to unmute yourself. Unmute and yeah. You need to unmute yourself, Yamuna ji. Please unmute yourself. You are being muted. Hari Om. Hari Om. You are not audible, Amma. You have to unmute. Hari Om. Yeah. Please go. Sorry.
It was not happening.
Yeah.
Can I share the screen?
Yeah, please go.
Yeah. Am I audible? Yeah. Hari Om. A very good morning to one and all present in this meeting. I thank CCMT Education Cell for giving me an opportunity to be a part of the program. My topic for today is tips to enhance communication skills. Communication is simply the act of transferring information from one place, person, or group to another. Every communication involves one sender, a message, and a recipient. This may sound simple, but communication is actually a very complex subject. The transmission of message from sender to recipient can be affected by a huge range of things. These include emotions, the cultural situation, the medium used to communicate, and even our location. In our daily life, while talking to our people, we don't pay much importance to give right instructions or to communicate properly. I would like to share a small video here. Please watch it. It is on the lighter side.
यार ऐसे कौन चाय लाता है? ट्रे में लेकर आओ इसको।
हेलो ससुर जी, आपकी लड़की में तो दिमाग नाम की कोई चीज ही नहीं है। तो दिमाग की तो कोई बात ही नहीं हुई थी। आपने तो हमारी लड़की का हाथ मांगा था।
So you watch the disaster. We think we give right instructions, but see what the outcome is. We use communication in nearly every environment. Whether you give a slight head nod in agreement or present information to a large group, communication is absolutely necessary when building relationships, sharing ideas, delegating responsibilities, managing a team, and much more. Learning and developing good communication skills can help you succeed in your career. We use different ways to share information with one another. There are 4 main categories of communication styles. You might use verbal communication when sharing a presentation with a group. You might use written communication when applying for a job and sending an email. You might use non-verbal communication like body language, gestures, and facial expressions to convey information to others. You might also use visual communication such as photographs, art, drawings, sketches, charts, graphs to communicate. Verbal communication is the use of language to transfer information through speaking. It is one of the most common type, often used during presentations, video conferences, phone calls, meetings, and one-to-one conversation. Verbal communication is important because it is efficient. Here are few tips teachers can take to develop verbal communication skills. Use a strong, confident speaking voice so that everyone can easily hear and easy for them to understand. The other side of using verbal communication is intently listening to and hearing others. Active listening skills are key when conducting a meeting, presentation, or even when participating in one-to-one conversation. Doing so will help you grow as good communicator. When we have verbal or written communication, it is so important to give right instruction to students, especially in the class. I would like to share a video here. Please have it.
Really go for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Do you guys think you can write down some instructions and teach me how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Yeah.
Step 1. Get 2 pieces of bread out.
Got him.
Get a butter knife and get some PB. Take 1 piece of bread, spread it around with the butter knife.
No, Dad, with the peanut butter.
I'm just doing what it says. It says take 1 piece of bread, spread it around with the butter knife.
Hold on.
Get some jelly, rub it on the other half of the bread.
No, Dad, open the jelly.
It doesn't say to do that. Put the breads together on top of each other. Take a big bite.
So this is exactly the same situation in the classroom. Teachers say something, explain something, but students understand something else. Written communication is the act of writing, typing, or printing symbols like letters and numbers to convey information. It is helpful because it provides a record of information for reference. Writing is commonly used to share information through books, pamphlets, blogs, letters, memos, and more. Emails and chats are the common form of written communication in the workplace. Here are few tips for teachers to develop their communication skills, written communication skills. Written communication should be as simple and clear as possible. Be careful when you are trying to communicate a certain tone when writing. Keep your writing as simple and plain as possible. Take time to review your written communication skills. Non-verbal communication is the use of body language, gestures, and facial expressions to convey information to others. It is helpful when trying to understand others' thoughts and feelings. Here are few steps teachers can take to develop non-verbal communication skills. Be intentional about your non-verbal communications. Make an effort to display positive body language when you feel alert, open, and positive about your surroundings. If you find certain facial expressions or body language beneficial to a certain setting, use it as guide when improving your own non-verbal communication. Visual communication is the act of using photographs, art, drawings, sketches, charts, and graphs to convey information. Visuals are often used as an aid during presentation to provide helpful context alongside written and/or verbal communication. Because students have different learning styles, visual communication might be more helpful for some to consume ideas and information. Here are few steps teachers can take to develop visual communication skills. Consider your audience. Be sure to include visuals that are easily understood by your students. Should never use sensitive, offensive, violent, or graphic visuals in any form. Being a good listener is one of the best ways to be a good communicator. Your body language, eye contact, hand gestures, and tone of voice all color the message you are trying to convey. Clarity in speech, friendliness in words, confidence in subject, empathy for slow learners, open-mindedness, respect for all are the communication skills for success. Effective communication is a process of exchanging ideas, thoughts, knowledge, and information such that the purpose of our intention is fulfilled in the best possible manner. In simple words, it is nothing but presentation of views by sender in a way best understood by the receiver. Communication is a lifeline in any relationship. What could be more important than communication? Can anybody tell me? Yes, the answer is effective communication. To make sure you are expressing yourself openly and effectively, here are 8 principles of effective communication. Have a goal. First, determine what you want your audience to do or get out of your communication. Good communication is never one way. Where and how your communication is being consumed is a vital factor to consider. Tailor your content and messaging for that medium. Stay organized. Stay focused on the plan. Be analytical in your research and avoid scope creep. Be persuasive. This is the whole reason you are communicating. So please do it well. Be clear. Keep your writing clear and as short as possible. Avoid long words when a short one will do. Less is more. Your audience is likely busy, so don't waste your or their time with irrelevant tidbits, repeated information, or details. Be curious. Finally, resolve to always be learning. Test different formats and styles to see what works best, connecting with your unique audience. Why are teachers not able to communicate effectively? It is because of the following barriers. Attitudes or emotions like anger, sadness can taint objectivity. Having a personal agenda can make communications less than effective. Physiological barriers like ill health, poor eyesight, hearing difficulties, pain, etc. Cultural noise. People sometimes make stereotypical assumptions about others based on their cultural background. Ambiguity. Leaving things half said, using too many generalizations can lead to communications that are not clear. Assumptions and jumping to conclusions can make someone reach a decision about something before listening to all the facts. Good communication skills of teachers are basic need of academic success of students and professional success of teachers. Effective communication can help to build and foster a safe learning environment where students can thrive, prosper, and learn. The communication skills that students learn at school are fully transferable and essential across all aspects of life. Furthermore, it has been proved that the supportive teacher-student relationships have a positive impact on class participation, engagement, and ultimately a student's achievements. The benefits of fostering such relationships enable students to freely discuss thoughts and ideas and create an open environment in which questions can be asked without the risk of being judged or humiliated. According to many studies, students across is directly related to effective communication of the teacher. I think you will all agree with me at this point. Techniques to create a positive dialogue between students and teachers. This is very important. Create a safe and supportive environment where students feel comfortable to open up and express their thoughts and ideas. It is important that at all stages of teaching process that you nurture this kind of non-judgmental environment. By having an open door policy and allowing students to pop in and talk about anything, promote good communication. Doing more team activities and group work is a great way to take the focus of competing with one another and concentrate more on working together to get the best results. It can encourage communication, cooperation, collaboration, and help students talk more and effectively express themselves with their peers. Moving around the classroom and getting involved with the students will create less of student-teacher feel and help them feel more comfortable and more likely to open up. Listen to hear your students, not just to respond and give an answer. Sometimes just lending an ear can be extremely useful in promoting a supportive and caring environment. Give positive feedback. Giving positive feedback is a necessary part of promoting effective communication in the classroom. It has been proved that students who receive praise are more likely to believe that they can accomplish tasks and be successful and help to build students' confidence. We all love to listen to stories. Storytelling is a means for sharing and interpreting experiences. This can be used as a method to teach ethics, values, and cultural norms and differences. Learning is more effective when it takes place in social environments that provide authentic social cues about how knowledge is to be applied. Storytelling is the oldest form of teaching. Stories define us, shape us, control us, and make us. Storytelling helps explain expectations, strengthen character, and teach desired behavior among students. When a speaker turns information into a relatable story with a lesson attached, it is easier for the audience to connect to and learn from it. It teaches us how to listen and learn as a human. Facts will be forgotten, but stories that incorporate facts and information will have a greater effect on listeners and therefore are more likely to be remembered. The impact of storytelling goes far beyond the walls of the classroom. Storytelling is a very effective communication which can be used in a classroom, especially in the foundation classes. Throughout history, people have used art to communicate without relying on words. Dance, as a theatrical art form, is a powerful form of communication. It can be created to communicate a broad idea or a specific spark or stimulus from a particular culture, place, or time. Art integration should be made mandatory at all levels of education. Teaching is all about communication, listening, speaking, reading, presenting, and writing. Teachers who hone their communication skills are prepared to instruct, advise, and mentor students interested in their care. Pujya Swami Chinmayanandaji was a great guru, a great communicator. He could hold the attention of his audience. He could reach their hearts. That is the reason he had so many followers. I would like to share a small clipping here of Swamiji.
The qualities of a teacher should have, which are prescribed in the Upanishads. Shrotriya. You must sit at the feet of the teacher and directly listen the words that emerges out from his live mouth. Then only the Upanishadic ideas become alive.
Even to this day, we get goosebumps when we listen to his discourses. If we can acquire 10% of his communication skills, we will still be good communicators and good teachers. Thank you. Hari.
Thank you. Thank you, Yamunaji. It was very, very aptly said. And I like this very important point. Very, very important point is we all think communicating is about talking, how I
Yes.
communicate with others, how I should be clear. But that's a very, very important point behind is we should be good listeners. Only who can listen properly can communicate well. Stotriya, what Gurudev says, is about listening. Stotriya is about listening. And one who listens will speak well. Today, you see children, when they want to say something, they are jumping at whatever they want to say. There's no hurry to jump like that. They just pay attention to properly. Many times, even when they read questions, answers, papers, they don't read properly, contemplate, and then answer. They jump at it. And most of the time that goes as an error. And Guruji also talks about it. Guruji says, we want children to remember. They have to recollect. When they write an examination, they have to recollect the answers and remember and write. So he says, what is the first and most important thing? First, they have to collect the information. Then only they can recollect. Once it is stored, then only it can be recalled. When there is no collection happening, how will recollection happen? That's why children mess up in the exam papers and all of that. So collecting information, knowledge happens only through proper communication. Communication itself says union between the two minds and the two hearts. Beautifully, you brought it out, a lot of very, very important points, the strategies, tips you gave. You spoke about the body language. And, the very nice thing is communication. how our Guruji steals the show by having
Yes.
some humor in between. He gives one joke and then, it draws complete our attention. So I like the way Yamuna ma'am presented the
Thank you.
first slide was on the joke. I don't know whether everybody understood. I don't think most of them don't know Hindi. They may not have
Yes.
understood. So for the first part was okay. The trail, he putting the tea and bringing it. But the second part was saying, "Tumhara beti ka, your daughter doesn't have brains." The father-in-law says, "You only wanted her hands." So she does not have to have a brain. It's a very beautiful joke, and humor does makes a lot of wonders. When you talk humorously, the communication automatically happens. So that's something wonder, but hardly very few are have this kind of an aspect. Thank you so much. Now
Thank you.
over to Neena ma'am. Thank you. We really appreciate. Neena ma'am, can you introduce the next speaker?
Sure, Amma. Thank you, Amma. Welcome to Srimati Shobha Menon, who is the principal of Chinmaya Vidyalaya Thrissur. And she's going to be presenting on teachers with a difference. We have always heard about schools with a difference, the SWAT books and all that. So here she is, like Swami Amma always talks, it's not just the school with a difference, it is also the teacher who has to change to be a teacher with a difference. Now, Shobha Menon, one more Chinmaya Gaurav awardee. She has got her Chinmaya Gaurav award from Swami Tejomayananda ji in 2015. And needless to say, she's won many more awards, a whole long list. So she's won a lot of awards in multiple fields from multiple organizations. And the most important thing is she is a very, very active person in community service. And she's presented inspiring talks in various organizations in and around Thrissur. And she's a resource person for various organizations and groups of educators, where she motivates them on various topics like methodology of teaching, biology, personality development, learning styles, etc., multiple topics. And very importantly, she is a very proud executor of the vegetable garden project in her own school, vermicomposting project, girl guides, library management, etc. Lots of such projects she's going on, and most of these are sustained in the school, and it's visible in her CVP reports. And yeah, that's about it. She has many, many feathers in her cap of different colors, and each one is significant. So over to Shobha Menonji for Teacher with a Difference.
Shobhaji, you need to unmute. You need to unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself. You have to unmute, Amma.
Just click on the screen, you'll find the icon will appear. Just touch on your screen.
Where is she?
Ma'am, I'm connecting from Chinmaya Vidyalaya Thrissur.
Oh, sorry.
Can you allow me to unmute?
I'll allow you to unmute. But you are already unmuted. You are already speaking.
No, that I'm using my phone.
Ah, okay. Yeah, now I've allowed you to unmute. I saw one Shobha Menon, so I was unmuting that. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah. Please. Twad.
Thank you. Twad. Pranams to all of you. Shanti Amma, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Meena ma'am, I'm humbled by your kind words. And finally, the day has dawned for me to share my wonderful thoughts of teachers with a difference. I'm starting to share my screen. Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, it's visible. Please go ahead.
Pranams at the lotus feet of our Puji Gurudev, His Holiness Swami Chinmayananda, who kept reminding us again and again that we are instruments in the hands of God, and we have to light the lamp. Children are not vessels to be filled, but lamps to be lit. So with this wonderful thought, I go ahead with my presentation. Teachers with a difference. There are different types of teachers. a teacher by choice, a teacher by compulsion, a teacher driven by need, and a teacher by chance. A teacher by choice decides at a very young age that she has to become a teacher. A teacher by compulsion, maybe she's compelled by her family, compelled by the society, by the other peer group, and that makes her a teacher. A teacher driven by need, maybe it could be the financial need that makes her a teacher. And sometimes there are teachers who just happens to be a teacher just by chance. Maybe she becomes a good teacher later on, or maybe she does not. There are few more categories of teachers. A teacher who's aware and who cares, aware of her responsibility, of his responsibility, aware of the duty, and cares for the children very much. Aware but does not care is the second category. They're aware, but they don't give much of thought to what a child should be doing. The third category is not aware, but cares. Maybe there is an inherent quality in the teacher to care for the child, but the teacher is not aware. And the last one is they're not aware and they do not care. And this category is not at all suitable as far as this profession is concerned. I pass on to the next slide. There's one more categorization, a teacher who performs without instruction. For example, if you think of a teacher, for example, when we have begun with the online classes, the teacher starts to develop on her own. She gathers information about the different ways by which communication can be done online. She goes into different sites and collects the most important material for the child, and she will go in for a number of training and she'll perform without instruction. A teacher, the second category is a teacher who performs with regular instructions. For example, if you have an annual day coming in, you will find that this teacher will follow the instruction that is given by the higher authorities and she will perform to perfection. There are teachers who do not perform even being instructed. So you have to be behind them sometimes. You have to give them, positive strokes, and then probably the teacher may start functioning. And the last one is a teacher who acts differently to the instruction. Sometimes a teacher, we may give a particular instruction, but the teacher may do something that is totally different from what the instruction is. So these are one more categorization of teachers. As all of us know, a teacher has multiple roles. We are not just teachers. We may be instructors. Sometimes we are educationists. Sometimes a coach. Sometimes we gently guide the child. Sometimes we behave as mentor to our mentees. Sometimes a philosopher. Sometimes we may put our hand across the shoulder of a child and then we become a friend. Sometimes we can read the mind of a child. When the child is gloomy, we understand why. Or we talk to the child, we become a psychologist. When a child falls, no matter where we are, we rush to their aid, we become a nurse. We are also parents to our children. We are also tutors, gurus, academicians, and sometimes counselors. So a teacher has multiple roles. They are multifaceted, they're multi-talented, and also good at multitasking. So this is something a teacher alone can do. I don't think any other profession can, proudly call themselves and say, yes, we do so many activities. But we teachers definitely can don the robe of many, many activities and do it with perfection. I pass on to what is an ideal teacher, or who is a teacher with a difference, the TWAD. A teacher with a difference, definitely in all Chinmaya Vidyalayas or in all SWADs, we have the TWADs. The teacher may be a teacher by choice, a teacher who's aware and who cares, and a teacher definitely who performs without instruction. Now, this teacher, she knows what is her responsibility. She is very, very appreciative about the child, and she proclaims her appreciation in a large gathering, in a public gathering. She is very enthusiastic. You'll find her walking into the class with a lot of positive energy. The moment the bell rings, you'll find her at the doors of the class. She is extremely loyal to the institution, no matter what, whether there are uphills or, pull setbacks. The teacher always remains loyal to the institution. She is passionate, not only about teaching, but every little thing that she does in the school, she's passionate. Even when it comes to, say, vegetable gardening, she is passionate about it. She loves children. One of the best qualities of an ideal teacher is she just adores her children. And as Yamuna ma'am said, she or he, the teacher, I'm sorry I keep saying she, but a teacher incorporates humor in lessons. And you find that the child always waits for that teacher's class because there's a lot of humor, it is tinged with humor, and the child understands what the teacher is trying to communicate. The teacher also relates real life anecdotes. During the course of the lesson, there are so many examples that the teacher brings across, and that really creates a wonderful ambience in the class. The teacher goes an extra mile to bring smiles in the faces of her child, and the teacher is ready for challenges. No matter what, the challenge gravitates towards her shoulders. She knows that she can take up the responsibilities, and she does that with a lot of positivity in her mind. She is emotionally stable, no matter what happens, no matter if she has some setbacks at home. She comes from a home which is sometimes on a particular day disturbed, but at school, she does not mix her personal life with the school life. She's very, very emotionally stable. And at the same time, she knows how to handle crisis. Whenever there is a crisis in the school, no matter whether it's a small one or a large one, she has the ability to handle that. And very, very punctual. As I said earlier, this is one teacher who at the stroke of the bell, you may find her standing at the door, sometimes glaring at the teacher who may be stealing a few minutes of her class. And she's so punctual, not only in the class, but with respect to any other duties that is assigned to the teacher. And this is a teacher who loves to learn. You have a workshop ready, she's the one who volunteers and says, ma'am, I'm ready to go. So this is a teacher with a difference. Today, I'll be handling 3 aspects of an ideal teacher, namely the physical attributes, the social commitment, how a teacher touches on the social responsibilities of a child, as well as how she creates an emotional reservoir in the child. So going on to the first one, the physical attributes. There are quite a large number of ways by which we can improve the physical qualities of a child. Teachers are very much responsible for insisting that the child learns what is cleanliness, what is grooming. She, right from the younger classes, she tells a child that the nails are to be cut, the hair is to be kept clean, you have to come in perfect clean uniform, you have to take a bath regularly. So this, in a very subconscious manner, the child imbibes these particular qualities. The teacher also teaches the child about nutritious food, how to stay away from junk food. And the teacher also teaches table etiquette. For example, you have to bring a lunch towel to keep your lunch boxes. You also have to use your hand and the spoon properly. Wash your hands, hand hygiene. Do not talk when you are eating. Do not spill food here and there. So all these table etiquettes are taught by the teacher at a very young age. The Fit India project, I'm sure many schools have taken up the Fit India project, where the child is groomed to becoming a very healthy individual, and in a healthy citizen definitely creates a beautiful nation, and the nation in turn projects itself as a developing nation. So this starts from the school. Another way by which we contribute to physical attribute is RED, or the responsible eating drive. In this particular way, we tell them what is responsible eating. Just munching junk food is not responsible eating. Just throwing away food that we carry from home and just throwing it in the dustbin is not responsible eating. So there are different ways by which we eat in a responsible manner. We should not incorporate monosodium glutamate in our diet. So there are so many ways by which a teacher inculcates or instills the responsible eating project in our child. Similarly, teachers can monitor the BMI, the body mass index in the child, and always come across children who are obese or malnutrition, follow it up with doctors, and have sessions with parents so that all these problems about malnutrition or whether it is obesity can be mitigated so that we have healthy children in the school. Health and physical fitness is something that is a very key program that happens in all our schools. And all of us are responsible for insisting that the child goes to the ground, plays, and becomes physically fit. There are also games which children are so happy with: football, basketball, indigenous games like Kho, Kabaddi, etc. Following these physical attributes, we also have the vegetable gardening project. Indirectly, we are definitely causing them to become, to connect with nature. And once they start doing this vegetable gardening project, they learn. It is an experiential learning for them. They learn what is soil. They learn when the seed germinates. And once everything is over, they start to harvest the crops. And the harvest can be utilized by the children, and they can be even taught simple cooking, simple dishes, so that it becomes part of experiential learning. We can take them for nature walks and once again expose them to the wonderful flora and fauna that is around us. This is also experiential learning. We teach them yoga, we teach them breathing techniques. It is wonderful if a teacher can start the class with a little bit of breathing techniques, because it goes a long way in keeping them alert in the class. We also insist that the child sits with a good posture. Whenever you find the child slumping with the shoulders, drooping down, we say, sit straight, child, because this will improve your lung capacity. Or when the child is walking with a slouch, you'll tell them, walk straight, walk with your head held high. So all these is, instilled in them in a subconscious manner, which becomes very important for them at a later stage. The morning Mars drill is another thing which is very, very important and happens because the teacher does it. The indigenous food test, where the child is exposed to food that is seen in a particular locality, and that different kinds of indigenous food, the fest can be arranged once again, contributing to their physical attributes. Sandwich making, salad making, and no-flame cooking are all ways by which you can improve their physical attributes. Now, once these actions are done, let us see what is the result. The result of a teacher who carries out all these activities are definitely a teacher may improve the child's gross motor skills, the fine motor skills. The teacher starts, developing a kind of trust with the peer group. The child learns teamwork, especially when the child is playing games like football or basketball. Teamwork, interaction, and this interaction can be intrapersonal, interpersonal. So if this kind of interaction happens, muscle strength is improved, coordination is improved. The child learns what is a balanced lifestyle. The child learns about group solving. Flexibility increases, strength increases, endurance increases, and also a child learns that it is a responsible atmosphere, respectful atmosphere of competition, and not winning that is more important. So all these are touched upon in a very, very casual manner by the teacher. We don't actually tell them we are doing this, but finally the result is definitely all these that I have just mentioned. Coming to the emotional banking, how is that a teacher can create an emotional reservoir in our child? we come across all these emotions in our children, looking happy, looking surprised, disgusted, excited, sometimes sad, sometimes envious, sometimes, full of anger. So these are some kind of emotions that we come across a child. But no matter what emotions we come across, the teacher has a very stable reaction. The teacher always, an ideal teacher, a teacher with a difference, always uses comments like, I'm so happy to see you this morning. I know you're pulling a long face, but doesn't matter. I'm happy to see you. I missed you yesterday. I love seeing you smile. And such comments make the child forget what kind of reaction he's expressing and immediately becomes, emotionally calm. The teacher always, even when the teacher is reprimanding, the teacher is always communicating with the child that it is the behavior that the teacher is angry with, not the child. Now, this is very, very important in the long run. The teacher, even when the teacher has to redirect a child's behavior, the teacher gives appropriate touches whenever necessary, like a pat on the back, or a handshake, or a small little hug, which is very, very important in smaller classes, or brief tickles. Now, these are very, very important for emotionally connecting with your child. The teacher also moves physically close to children, bends and crouches to be at the level of the child while talking to them. Now, all this, again, adds to the emotional reservoir of the child. Now, what are the methods by which we can develop the emotional reservoir? One is the encouragement card. We can customize certain encouragement cards, give it to all the teachers. Now, these encouragement cards are small little cards with beautiful pictures on one side, and on the other side is just blank, with where you can fill the name of the child and just write a message. I found you, your handwriting has improved tremendously. Good job, keep it up. And put the signature with your date and hand it over. Small such encouragement cards which are given to children has a large impact. Let me tell you, my own son, who's presently a software engineer and working in the IBM, he has treasured all the encouragement cards that he has received from his teachers. And he has received quite a large number of cards. And probably that is one reason why he's very, very emotionally stable now. And when a child receives 5 encouragement cards from different teachers, the child receives a privilege card, and the privilege card can be given in an open assembly. And that again boosts up the emotional bank of the child. We can also have listening rooms. Listening rooms are certain rooms where a teacher can just sit. A child can just walk into the room and just talk to the teacher. The teacher will not give any kind of reply, but he will listen patiently, and that is far more important than talking to a child. Just listen to the child. The teacher can also create caretakers. Caretaking is a system where elder children can be given the responsibility of taking care of small children in lower classes, say the kindergarten or standard 1 and 2, where as soon as the child comes, the child is trained where to keep the bag, where to keep the water bottle, and talk to the child, improve their vocabulary, tell them stories. So this, this kind of connect between an elder child and a younger child is really wonderful as far as emotional development is concerned. Build up empathy. Whenever there is a sick child, a child who's fallen down, broken his hand or a leg, immediately the teacher will say, come, let us go and visit the child. And along with the child, take a few books. So this kind of connect, later on, when he grows into an adult, definitely is very, very important. Some of the other methods are recognition of the innate talent. While a teacher is taking class, sometimes we find children scribbling or drawing on the sides of the margin, and maybe the drawing comes out very well. Without criticizing the child, immediately we can appreciate this particular talent, and later on call the child personally and tell the child, it is not in the book that you have to draw. Keep a separate book for that. So this kind of recognition helps the child in developing these emotions. The teacher-parent connect. The teacher can call parents, around 5 to 6 parents on a daily basis.
Shobhaji, you need to wind up. It's getting
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And okay, ma'am. Passing on to social commitment, I'll just take 4 minutes, ma'am.
Yeah, not more than 2-3 minutes, please.
Yes, ma'am. In social commitment, we can create blue army. We can carry out energy audits. We can support the pain and palliative. We can adopt a village. We can we can ask children to contribute library books. We can take them to cancer wards, and we can also visit institutions of children with special needs. We can build up an honesty shop in our school. Initiate the Love Plastic project. We can have first aid soldiers in our schools, food packets for destitute, and so on. And the result is we build up compassion in a child. We develop honesty and integrity. We teach the child to become patient, the ability to become role models, and also to think critically, creatively, and to protect the environment. Empathy, generosity, conservation of natural resources, patience, all these are developed through this emotional backbone. So with this, I complete my talk. And as all of us know, the master teacher that we are all very familiar with is our Pujya Gurudev. And when Pujya Gurudev, I quote, when the right type of student, one who's fit for knowledge, meets a true teacher, the transformation that takes place in the child is miraculous and certain, unquote. With these words, I wish all of you a very good day and thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you so much. That was really, really good, very exhaustive, that exhaustive list of things that we can do. But basically, what I personally feel is, if you want children to be physically fit, teacher also has to be physically fit. If you are lazy, you are having obese, and you are not able to even walk briskly, you cannot impress upon children. If you want to have children to be emotionally balanced, you have to be simply emotionally balanced. You have to don't yell at unnecessary things, or be soft-spoken, and be extend all love and support to the child. Child automatically becomes takes that from you. It's always imbibed from the teacher. And that last point is very important. As teachers, we also need to see how I can commit myself for the society. What am I going to do for the society? The social commitment does not come easily to make children do. We tell them, do this, do gardening, do this, do this. They do it just for marks and because you are asking you to do. But the best of things happen when you are committed, you are taking up such activities. Suppose you are spending an hour once a week going and teaching children, orphan children, or in a nearby village. You see how much impact it has on children. The teacher with a difference can only make all that, whatever mentioned there, make a student with a difference. So we need to be different. How do we make it different? You can see, I have read about a lady in one of the rural village here. She was an English teacher. Her qualification goes for, I forgot to bring the details to you. I could have shown it to you. She has done doctorate and post-graduation in 2-3 subjects, all of that. She decided to do uplift her own village. She's a government school teacher. She kept writing to school that we need to have these activities, we need to have these cards and flashcards and things, and nobody would do anything. And she sold all her jewels and she made her own classroom into a wonderful place where she brought in all materials. She showed that, demonstrated it, and then the principal and the corporation and the government, everybody said, no, we will provide nice chairs and all of that. She said, I have to do this. My commitment is this. And then everybody came and interviewed her and it came out in all papers and all of that. So you can be that different person. It'll look crazy.
Ma'am, I think all my teachers are doing everything that I just narrated. And that is why I mentioned all of this.
No. I liked your presentation. I'm saying it is, we need to look at ourselves now. There's something that we may all make error is, we want teachers, children to be good, children to be disciplined, children to be soft-spoken, children to have physically fit. What about us? We also need it. That's what I wanted to emphasize on that. It was very beautiful. Presentation was very beautiful. I have seen whenever I visit schools, children will be singing national anthem and teachers will be walking to see whether they are standing in attention. It's not required for you to walk across and check. You are not policing. You just demonstrate, stand in front of them in attention and sing loudly. How many schools teachers sing national anthem when children are singing? They don't open their lips also. They just want to watch. They want to police. And if somebody is not singing, they'll go hit him and say, come on, sing. They'll do that also. Give a pat, not hit actually. But that's not the idea. Just demonstrate it. And then you become a different person. Children will become a different. It's a very, very beautiful topic. I like the way you categorize the physical, emotional, and social level, how we can make a difference to children. That was really wonderful. Thank you so much, Shobhaji. It was a very, very nice presentation.
Thank you,
we had a lot of content. The content was too much, for 15 minutes. That's what I felt. But otherwise, it was very, very good presentation. Thank you so much. We have the last speaker for today from our Rourkela. We are having our Sarmishta Satpathy ma'am, and I'm sure Meena Amma will introduce her. But before that, that topic also, you see, there's something very, very essential. That is, if you see a school, we have got 3 students themselves, teachers, the management of the school, and the 4th important aspect that the parents are there on the other side. When you keep them on the other side, we will have problems. We will have all the time problems, issues. Whatever you do, they will say, no, this is not fine, that is not fine. You want for 10 rupees, they'll say, no, we'll pay 5 rupees, like that. How do you bring them into the fold of our own school? How are you going to make them a part of it? It's an exceptionally needed topic. I know today I get schools writing that parents are not wanting to pay fees. Parents are going to the collector and saying why this is done in the school and all of that. How to make them as our strength. They are our strong points of the school. That is the topic, Sarmishta ma'am. And she wrote it, I jumped at it. She wrote to me saying that this is the topic I want to do. I said, why, yes, this is needed. So that is Sarmishta ma'am. Meena ma'am would request you to introduce her. And partnering with the parents is a very essential topic. Please take tips from whatever she is giving. I'm sure it will make a whole lot of benefit to us. Yes, Meena ma'am. I've unmuted you, Meena ma'am. Please unmute and speak. You're not unmuted. Yeah.
Thank you, Shanti Amma. And Hari Om once more. There are a lot of new people who have joined this talk today. It's very overwhelming to see that. So thank you to all the newcomers who joined for the first time. Well, here we have Sharmishta Kavi Satpathy, who is the principal of Chinmay Vidyalaya, Chhend Colony in Rourkela. Now, she is another distinguished person who has chanted the Bhagavad Gita during the yajnas of Pujya Swami Chinmayananda, our own dear Gurudev. And she has been conducting Balvihar Chik classes, Devi group classes. She's continuing them in Rourkela. And she has also been delivering talks on spiritual texts for general public. Now, these are exceptional qualities, and she's, of course, received the Best Principal Award from some social organizations in and around Rourkela. And very importantly and beautifully and differently, this principal has been given the Best Playwright Award in the state level and city level from Nataka Mahotsavas. And she has written more than 15 plays in Odia, English, and Hindi language. And she's been appointed also as an inspector by ICSE, because her school belongs to ICSE, and she goes for inspection for schools to get recognition. And very importantly, from CCNT Education Cell, I would like to mention that she hosted the first ever Hari Seva camp at Rourkela last year, which was a grand success because children from that area could attend this camp. Thank you for all the help, Sharmishta ma'am. Welcome to talk about partnering with parents.
Mr. Ma'am, please unmute and speak. You're muted. You are still unmuted. You are still muted. You're unable to unmute, Amma?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, fine.
Yes,
please. Okay.
Hari Om. Om Sri Chinmay Sadgurave Namaha. My humble pranams to all revered acharyas of Chinmay Mission, respected members of Education Cell, respected Santhi Amma, and dear principals. I really feel blessed today to be a part of the Vidya Vritti. I express my gratitude to Santhi Amma for organizing such a wonderful program in which we share and learn from one another. Now, let me start my topic today. Today's topic for discussion is partnering with parents. And to begin with, I would love to quote Pujya Gurudev here. Pujya Gurudev says, from childhood onwards, noble ideas were inculcated into all the great men of the past, and they invariably declare that for the greatness they achieved, they are indebted to their mothers. And according to Pujya Gurudev, parents have always been instrumental to infuse values, ideas, culture into the child, which helps him become a true human being later on. Parents play a very important role to provide a secured home environment full of love, care, discipline, along with bestowing values and culture aligned to the vision of the school. Now, again, Gurudev says the school is a backyard, an extension of the home. What a wonderful vision Gurudev had. The better the values and culture provided to the child at home by parents, the more successful will be the education imparted in the school. Hence, school is an extension of home, as rightly said by Pujya Gurudev. In the year 1990, Pujya Gurudev writes on educating the parents. It is 30 years ago, only a visionary can say things so accurately, which we are discussing today. Pujya Gurudev writes, these are strange days for educational institutions. They have a responsibility not only to the students, but also to their parents. We have to educate the parents. They are under the impression that once they send out their children to schools, their entire responsibilities are over. This is especially true with rich people. The rich generally demonstrate their utter ignorance by spending money on their children, and they are most unwilling to spend money in their children. Here, Gurudev hints at the important role played by parents with reference to schools. Schools need to take steps to explain parents how to invest in the child, not on the child. And once we become successful to explain this, then true partnership really begins. Pujya Guruji further defines the basis of partnering with parents. He says, parents, teachers, family, and society together help beautify and refine the behavior and mind of the child. Thus, with such refinement of the child, the whole process of education becomes complete. And in order to make our schools excellent centers of learning, we need to make sincere efforts to bring parents, teachers, students, and management closer. However, we are together with students, teachers, and school advisory or management, but we need to bring parents also together. And these are we can be inclusive schools. With implementation of RTE Act in India from April 2010, inclusive schools are increasing in number in India. Every child from every background is included in the schools, and arrangements are done to provide education to all kinds of students under the same system. For establishing such inclusive schools, partnering with the parents is unavoidable, and schools need to focus on this area too today. It is generally found actually everywhere, the common observation as far as parents and teachers are concerned, that the relationship between the parents and Vidyalaya is mostly stressful. Both try to prove to be perfect. Both depend on each other while aiming at child's development, which is their only goal. Still, they lack proper communication and understanding. There is a tug of war between the two most important groups related to the school. While parents may change schools easily, but schools can't afford to dissatisfy parents very often, as they depend on a particular section of parents in the society. So developing a strong and positive relationship with parents is the need of the present hour. In the process of improving our schools, we give importance to have better infrastructure, qualified and resourceful education, facilities for multiple activities, excellent way of managing things. But along with all this, we must give importance to partnership with parents, particularly when technology has made the world so close and so small. Without this strong pillar, the roof of a successful school can't be strong. So hence, we need to give equal importance to partnering with parents too. To support the above fact, I would like to refer to the principle 1 and 3 of fundamental principles of total quality management as mentioned to us during Chinmaya Netrutva organized by CCMT Education Cell, which has been an excellent program. Here principle 1 says, organizations depend on their customers and therefore should understand current and future customer needs, meet customer requirements and strive to exceed customer expectations. Customer means the parent is the most important visitor to our premises. He is not dependent on us. We are rather dependent on him. He is not an interruption of our work. He is the purpose of it. He is not an outsider of our business. He is part of it. We are not doing him a favor by serving him. He is doing us a favor by giving us an opportunity to do so. And fundamental 3 says, people at all levels are the essence of an organization and their full involvement enables their abilities to be used for the organization's benefit. And these 2 principles, when we attended, it really touched my heart those days. And we started a little bit working on this area. Thus, understanding the needs of parents and trying to meet their needs, keeping our students at the center will always help parents understand the principle of the institution, and they will surely come forward to involve themselves spontaneously. In this way, when parents will be engaged and involved in school process, they will be happy and satisfied. Their happiness and satisfaction will lead to increasingly rich and positive environment in the school. That is where lies Pujya Gurudev's vision of Chinmaya Vidyalaya, a school with a difference. Then educators, means the teachers, need to tear down the artificial wall which exists now between schools and parents. Teachers need to take little and small easy steps to remove this wall. Last Saturday, we listened about collaboration and school development. Giving children priority, if we would adopt necessary changes for collaboration with parents, then we can surely cope up with new challenges. Having understood the importance of partnering with parents, now the question is, how do we build effective partnership in our school? So the question is, how do we build effective parent-school partnership in inclusive schools? In order to build effective partnership, we need to follow 3 R's. Schools which are successful share these 3 policies: respect, responsibility, relationship. Let's take a look at respect first. In building respect, both parents and the school are valued. They are trusted and they are respected. The needs of the child becomes the basis of all inner actions in the Vidyalaya. Parents are co-partners in the decision-making process. Schools develop open-door policies for the parents, which means they develop welcoming climate for the parents. Parents express their concerns easily about the needs of the child. Schools provide all possible services and support system to the parents where they face problems. As a whole, there is found an underlying belief between school and parents. This needs to respect each other. When both thus understand what is best for their child, they share the responsibility. Neither parents nor the school blame each other for any problem. Both aim at a kind of parent-friendly schools and school-friendly homes. Creating parents-friendly schools and school-friendly homes is the need of the hour today. Schools welcome parents and parents reinforce school policies at home very easily and happily. Both remain connected, communication develops, they stay informed every time. With respect and responsibility in this manner, we open the door to meaningful relationship, trust, and relationship builds trust, and trust sustains quality partnership. And then quality partnership adds and nurtures positive vibration in the school atmosphere. Relationship thus builds trust, and further collaboration is developed, which ultimately strengthens the partnership and children enjoy schooling. These three R's really help developing and sustaining partnership, which help the institution grow. And we all need to work on promoting positive partnership in few areas initially. Promoting positive partnership, few points only I'll just discuss. Let's maintain a positive school climate which can help parents, guardians, educators, and professionals work constructively together to address concerns before they become a source of conflict. If we address it at the proper time, then these problems do not be big conflicts ultimately. Educators need to encourage and maintain regular interaction between schools and families. As regular interaction develops relationship, everyone related to the child is to be treated with respect so that each one feels safe and secure. Let us maintain a positive school climate which can help parents, guardians, educators, professionals work constructively together to address the concern. And allow each person to express opinions and give suggestions, because that is very important. Let us develop a system for regular and ongoing communication by which both sides can monitor progress of the child. Proper communication will solve maximum problems and it will bring both partners very, very close. An easy parent engagement policy in the school may be framed, which we require very much today. As studies recently have shown that good schools become even better when parents are involved and connected. Parents are welcomed, respected, and valued by the school community as partners in their children's learning and development. We need to foster and sustain a positive and welcoming school climate, which is very important, to identify and eliminate the barriers to parent involvement, to provide support for parents to enhance their skills and tools to handle children. Sometimes the parents do not know how to handle, so we can arrange workshops for them to train them, to take steps to provide timely information about school policies, procedures, practices to parents, and to make effort to assist the parents who do not understand our language, to review existing parent and community partnership and seek to expand them to reflect the diversity of our parents and the broader community. In this manner, I mean, in our school, we have taken certain actions. Maybe others are following, but I would like to give a few, many we are doing, but few only I'm just talking here. We have developed class-wise WhatsApp groups and online groups which have been made for easy communication with parents, even before this online period. Each class teacher along with subject teachers provide their contact number, mail ID to the parents to contact them very easily. Specific time has been mentioned to avoid confusion too. Teachers contact 3 to 4 parents on daily basis over phone and interact with them. Informal discussion with parents develop intimate relationship. All teachers of a particular class prepare report card on extracurricular, co-curricular activities, values, attitude, emotional development of a student during the session. They also include an informal assessment of the parents in the same report card, and this is handed over to the teachers of the next class, which makes it very easy for them to deal with the students as well as the parents. Parents meet the principal and teachers at a particular time and date, which makes it easy to listen and sort out their issues. They do not feel neglected. We have annual cricket match between the parents team and teachers team each year. And this is an annual awaiting event which is watched by many parents and everybody enjoys this actually. Last 3 to 4 years we have started. Parents enthusiastically take part in annual athletic meet and they compete like children. And we enjoy that actually. Parents become referees during cricket, football, kabaddi, badminton tournaments. We conduct song, rangoli, jhoti, art and craft, essay writing, story writing, debate competitions among our parents each year. And they are awarded during our annual day celebration too. Each year we add new competitions and parents really enjoy this. We conduct parenting sessions for our parents by our respected mission acharyas in each quarter. These sessions are highly appreciated and parents act as volunteers during important celebrations. These are only few steps mentioned here. We are yet to take many more steps to develop partnering with the parents. Education is a shared commitment between dedicated teachers, motivated students, and enthusiastic parents with high expectations. So with this, we parents and teachers can have strong relationship and share responsibility. Children get many academic and social benefits. Let's work on this important area wholeheartedly and build a better partnership with our parents and make our schools really schools with a difference. Thank you very much for you.
Thank you, Sharmishta ji. That was actually a very, very beautiful presentation. I think all of us need to pay some attention to this aspect of our schools. Just pay a little attention how you can do. I'm very happy to see the Rourkela school doing such wonderful things, parents being invited. You organize programs for parents and all of that. It makes them, become a part of the school. They are not away. You should see that the common interest between the school and the parent is the child. He is with us and he's with the parent also. So that, if you remember, then we will know that we'll not make this mistake of, keeping parents away, not allowing them to give feedback. Feedback mechanism should be there. You can resolve it. It's not necessary we should attend to everything that is being told, but there should be a feedback policy. Right now we are working on it. The redressal policy is something which I'm drafting now to add it into our blue book, which is not there. How you can do that beautifully. It's not that immediately you take it as a complaint. Every field, improves only through the feedback mechanism, except the education field. I have to say this. You see, today you go to a hotel, and if children are today, they're wanting to visit a hotel, they look into the website, how many stars it has got, and then only they go into what is the food quality, how many stars. They look into the feedback. But in school, if a parent comes into the principal's office, she says, this teacher did this, but don't tell the teacher I told you this. Don't let her know that I have this problem, because my son will be victimized, my daughter will be victimized. Why is this openness not there in our system? You just got to be ready for it. You should have an open redressal system where parents can communicate their views and what we are making mistakes we should improve. I have a very good suggestion for it. You can think about it. When you do admissions, when you take new admissions, you have a column in which you write the parents, please let us know what is your area of expertise and how you would like to partner with the school. Not asking for money. Don't ask for money. Then it's gone. They will not come near you. Just don't ask for money, but say, what is your area of expertise? That we do in Chinmaya International Residential School, and it works so well. They write, I'm a speaker, I'm a motivational speaker. And somebody writes, I'm heading a vice president of entrepreneurship. I have my own business. I'm doing this. Somebody writes that I am working at the consumer court. I'm heading that unit. Somebody is a lawyer there. And someone writes, I make teaching aids from United States of America. We are exporting to all. And we have a team of 2 teachers who is handed over all those details, and their job is to contact these people and come into the school and do workshops for children. Every year we have at least 6-7 parents coming in and doing workshops for children, because there's a tremendous potential on the other side. and they are with the school, they admire the school, and then they say, yeah, we love doing this workshop, and they conduct workshop how to make teaching aids for children. He stays in the campus for 2 days and does it. We have a person who has come and conducted workshop on entrepreneurship. Somebody has allowed the children to go to the consumer court and watch the case being fought. So it's such a wonderful experience for the commerce students. And we also have a beautiful campus here. If I want to develop a coconut farming, I call a parent who is good at farming, and he has a good acre of land near Coimbatore and he's running farm there. I tell him, tell us what is the kind of coconut I used to buy. We don't ask for money. They provide their expertise and they feel honored. We are looking at them. They know this, so I'm respecting them. All the coconut farming has been done through them. We did a studio in the school, recording studio. We got one parent from Dubai. He came all the way and gave us guidance how the studio has to be done. Not 1 or 2 cases. Any civil work we take, we call a parent who is very good at civil works. We take his advice. We say, how do you think we should do? What should be the way we should do? And then he feels so honored. Empowering them, empowering. Like, this is a beautiful program, Vidya Vritti, empowering all of you. I'm communicating to you that you are all very good and you have, a lot of resources with you. That makes itself, don't you feel good about doing that? The same way we need to make parents also partner with the school. And then 90% of the problems will be solved. So let parents become. There are schools, I've heard about it. The Arya Gurukul school is one of our vision school. They make the kindergarten teachers go to the houses. The children, when they join, first few months, they are visiting the houses, developing a rapport with the parents, talking to them, sitting and having a cup of tea, and then sharing about it and all of that. Something needs to be done, because today I have this problem at some school, the parents went to the collector and said something, and then the fee is being charged here high, or somebody is saying this is not good, and then some school in one place in Kerala, the parents went on a strike outside. So you've got to make it into a positive. From what negative, see how you can make it into a positive support for the school. It's a very, very important area, which if you are neglecting, as a principals, please take it up and do that. And thank you, Sarmishta ma'am. It was wonderful hearing you talk about whatever the presentation, the details that you gave, what is practiced in Roorkela. I really appreciate what you have done. Sarmishta ma'am, the family belongs to Chinmaya Mission. Our fathers, Satpati, I have met him when I was in Jamshedpur. They are all devotees of Gurudev. Gurudev used to stay in their place. And Sarmishta ma'am also is continuing to do a wonderful job. And like Meena ma'am mentioned, when I asked her, can you do a Seva camp this time in Rourkela, she not just readily accepted, she went beyond and organized it so very beautifully. It became a matter of pride. I shared it in Chinmaya Drishti last time about it, how the way they organized with the Swamiji there, Kevalananda ji together, they did a fantastic job. Thank you so much for partnering with Education Cell. That's another partnership you extended. I'm so very happy about it. Thank you so much. So with that, we come to the end of the session. I have to talk about one thing, that the chanting program that I have received more than 26 schools. I think we gave the last date as 7th September. I've got the date, 26 schools have registered for it. It's really, really good. I will send you the list of instructions now. The chanting is going to start from December 5th. Now you will receive a set of instructions, how many, minimum of 10, maximum of 15 students have to come. Let them come in colored dresses. It's not necessary they have to be in school uniform. We will tell you which chapter they have to chant, so you can give a practice. Those schools who have registered, we will confirm to you the mail, which chapter the child, by Monday or Tuesday you will receive that mail. You decide on the calling the children over online. You can give a practice to them, get your teachers, give a practice to them, that the correct pronunciation, everything, you ensure that. And then we will also send how you got to record it. That's why I say minimum of 10 is enough, because otherwise social distancing, all that may be a problem. We don't want the children to go individually in different places. One sloka by a student, one sloka by another student. We want the group to come to a school or some place, and there the recording has to be done and the recording has to be sent. That details will come. Monday or Tuesday, you will get the name of the chapter that you have to do. Talk to the children who are close by and who are having good pronunciation. Call them or practice using online, and how the recording has to be done, that will be given to you. The recording has to be clear. I have to tell you this, Chinmaya Mission is doing it, and they feel the schools should do this. The chanting is going to start from 5th onwards until 25th Tapovan Jayanti time, and some chapters are going to be given to 2 schools which are long chapters, so we will mention everything in detail. So let us prepare it. It is going to be watched globally, all over the world. Chinmaya Mission members are going to be watching it. It's a rare privilege that they have got. Let us do a very, very good job of that. So with that, and I'm also planning to give the next Chinmaya Drishti is coming in the month of December. During the last few months, I have received a couple of details from few schools that how the children are doing very well in different administrative services. Somebody is a collector, somebody is an superintendent of police, somebody is a revenue inspector, and things like that. Administrative services I'm collecting, and we are going to do a small article on Chinmaya Drishti in the next Drishti, which is coming in December. So if you have any details of your own school children, the picture of the child and what is he now working in what capacity, only administrative services, somebody is in the army, or somebody is a collector, or somebody is an IPS officer, or whatever you want to share, please send it across to our education cell. Meena ma'am, we will collect the data, and we want to do a good article, because I feel it's very important. We are saying there are schools with a difference, and patriotism is given in a very big way in our part of the Chinmaya Vision program. And these people, hundreds of them, go into the society and work as in different roles, connecting to the society and doing a fantastic job. That is a big recognition for all of us. I have to say this, it's a fantastic recognition. If somebody is I actually got one where I was in Jamshedpur, this boy studied under me, and he writes to me that I have become a superintendent of police for this Darbhanga state, and he sends me. It was just a great honor. I felt that, yes, our children are doing this. And so we have decided to include this article. So please see that you send me details if you want it to be published in the next magazine. We will give time for some time, and then we will wind it up. If you send it late, it becomes difficult. Last time when we did that COVID Warriors, so many people send it after we published the magazine. It all came, my school also, these 3 are working as doctors and all of that. So send it on time, say by the 15th or 20th of November. So we will definitely include that. So the next week we have Diwali. So wish you all a very, very happy and a joyful and a safe Diwali. Enjoy the sweets, enjoy time with your family. So we don't have a session on next Saturday 14th, but we have the last session of the Vidya Vriddhi series. The 5th session is going to happen on the 21st of November. That will be the last session. We are winding up with that. So that is the session, and we have this, I think you are able to see this. We are having a teacher's role in enhancing emotional resilience in students is going to be done by Mrs. Archana Soni, principal of the Chinmaya Vidyalaya, New Delhi. Emotional resilience has been given an important place in the new education policy, because the government is worried that children are committing suicide, children are going into stress. Whether they have the resilience to fight with whatever happens, I will still have the resilience to bounce back and face life. So that's a very important topic which Archana ma'am is going to do for us. And we have sustainability. That's another equally important topic for the schools, is that whatever happens today, we are doing such fantastic things, and that principle goes, everything falls down because there's nobody else to carry it forward. What are good practices should be sustained in the schools? So sustainability strategies for schools will be done by our Ashalata ma'am, principal of the Valthakad School, Kerala. And the last speaker will be, what is the requirement for a research aptitude for teachers? Please do not stress upon what children should have. It's about for us, for teachers. Geeta Devi Verma, from the principal from Chinmaya Vidyalaya, Kottayam, Kerala. She is going to speak on the need for the research aptitude for teachers. That will be the last topic that we will be touching upon. Please utilize these topics. Give it to your teachers. Take one topic. We have seen 15 topics, and 15 modules are there in our YouTube. So you can make use of it. Ask your teachers to see that they use that, and your school, when in staff meeting, you can ask one teacher to speak about any one of the 15 topics, and that can make a big difference. These are all very essential topics. If out of 15, even if 10 you are addressing, I can tell you your school will go to the next platform. It will go up on the ladder. I'm very confident about it, having spent so many, almost 44 years in this field. I can say this very confidently. Please take it up very, very seriously. I'm sure we can all evolve together. Thank you all so much. It's really a pleasure having all of you, meeting with all of you. So 21st is when we meet next. And thank you so much.